All right, it is 6:31 and we are starting our regular meeting of the Community Services Commission on Monday, October 10th. Can I get a roll call?
Chair Rocha,
Here.
Vice Chair Samuels,
Here.
Commissioner Bissner,
Here.
Commissioner Kwong,
Present.
Commissioner Ocon,
Present.
Commissioner Tamis,
Here.
Commissioner Vogel.
Here.
And for city staff, we have Director Pouch, myself, Supervisor Wilcox, and Supervisor Snyder.
Thank you. And do we have any public comment?
Nobody on Zoom.
Okay. And then next is the minutes of the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting of September 12th, 2022. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the September 12th, 2022 Recreational Commission meeting.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Do we still need to do a roll call since we are online? Okay. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Chair Rocha,
Yes.
Vice Chair Samuels,
Yes.
Commissioner Bissner,
Yes.
Commissioner Kwong,
Yes.
Commissioner Ocon,
Yes.
Commissioner Tamis,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0 to approve the September 12th, 2022 meeting minutes.
Thank you. And moving on to item 3, Department Assessment Focus Group.
I am so excited to see a full house of commissioners. Thank you. This is our first meeting all together as a group and I'm really excited. I would like to introduce John Jones. He is our department assessment consultant. He's doing an assessment of the entire community services department and you will be playing a large part of that. You had an online survey to complete and now we're going to kind of compile that information and John is going to kind of walk you through. Please say what you like to say. You will not improve without your input. So we want to hear what we do great, what we don't do so great, what we can do more of, not so much of. So this is your time as a commission to really talk about the department that you are overseeing as a commission and to give John all your information. So I appreciate your time on the survey and especially your time tonight of the focus group. John.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is John Jones. Sheila, thank you for that introduction. And, you know, this is a great opportunity for me. I'd give you a little back history of myself, and I'll introduce my associate that has helping us make this happen. I had the privilege of working in the recreation profession for 45 years. I retired from the city of Torrance 2 years ago. I had started in the city of Torrance as a youth volunteer back in the days when we were in high school. And then they found something in me and there's something unique about community services or Parks and Recreation Department staff. They see things in young adults and they see something about them and they encourage them to fly to different heights. And with that, I became a part-timer for the city of Torrance. And then upon graduating college, I applied and was able to get a full-time position in the city of Torrance at the very lowest level, recreation coordinator, and worked my way through over the years and became the director the last 13 years of my career. And I've been blessed because the profession not only blesses me because you are really a lucky group of people because your commission helps make the community better. Everything you guys are engaged in and this department's engaged in makes the community a better place to live, play, and to be part of. So the opportunity that we're going to do, this assessment that we've been going through is really about from a third person's perspective, someone who's been in the industry for a few years, to look at your department and to see organizationally how it's structured and operationally how is it running. And to get a sense, this isn't a full needs assessment. We're not talking to the community members. We're only going through the part-time staff members, the full-time staff members, the management staff, the city manager and deputy city manager, the commission, and then we're going to be meeting with the council members. So you're part of the process that is extremely important for the success of this report. And so I thank you for giving us the time. Monsi is here today. She works with the city of El Segundo. She's helping me. And this is a team effort because I like to try to keep the focus going, and she's going to take notes for us. So the goal of today, and I won't take too much of your time because I saw you have a pretty full agenda, is to kind of launch out. I know some of you have filled out the online survey. And if you have not, I brought some blank surveys if you wanted to do hard copy of them, and I would be happy to take those and then get them compiled with the others. But I did receive 8 surveys, maybe 9 now. I think, Gabriel, you probably just did yours online. Okay. So now I have 9. But what I was able to do was take those surveys and kind of do a summary of them to get a sense of what you're all saying. And I'm going to just throw a few things out. This is important for us to know. And if you want to add a little more to it, our main emphasis of tonight is going to be doing a SWOT analysis, of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and its threats, but I like to call it challenges. Threats is kind of a harsh word in our environment, but we are going to do that. That's the goal of tonight. But just to give you a little reference point, on that survey, there was just a few questions. It was, what are your top 3 priorities for the Community Services Department? And in most of the answers that I received, one of your highest priorities was programming. Flesh out new, innovative programming, or take old programming and reignite it, but find out what the community wants and how to bring forward more additional programming for the community for all your demographics. There's a belief that from your honorable body that there's some programs that maybe we're lacking in some areas, and that's okay, because in the profession of recreation, we try to take our ideas and programming from our constituents, and that's how we get them. And what happens oftentimes is the constituents will pitch an idea. It's so highly successful, it grows and grows and grows. The hard part, the hardest thing to do in recreation is to decommission that idea because maybe it's served its time. I don't know how many of you probably have seen through various organizations, nonprofit organizations, or even volunteer groups, when something gets started, it never ends. And then what happens, it ends itself because the enthusiasm and the excitement of those participants dwindle and it just goes away. Same thing holds true with participation in recreational or cultural programs. So as we go down this path, I'm going to be doing a general assessment of the general high-level programs that community service departments offer. And there might be some gaps there that I might suggest we look at. But that is not the Bible. That is not what speaks for South Pasadena. South Pasadena is about what the community, what the makeup of the community is, and what they want to see as their newest and fun programming. And you need to look at programming for young, the little toddlers, all the way through the adolescents, to the teens, to the adults. Adults seem to get a short, string ever so often. And then the seniors. And I like to call them my older adults. So I am too one of those.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Who initiated the department assessment?
Oh, great question. I was asked by your community service department. The city manager's office actually is asking departments to have assessments conducted of each of their departments so they can find out where are the best business practices to be moved forward on. This is really a great chance to come out of COVID and the pandemic into a new era. So great question. So thank you for asking that. A few of the other high priorities was succession planning and workload management. Those were a couple of the other high areas there. What is the community service department doing right? Programming and engaging the community. The department is a lot of fun. The community loves them. And a great deal of that was, there's a feel that they would like the department to do more programming, but the resources are dwindled. They're small. So how do we maximize our resources? But the department's doing a lot of good things right for the community, and you see that. You see the hard work by the department. What can the community services do more of? Well, there was some talk about, this is a new term, but it's relevant in today's time, strategic programming. So realizing that we have limited resources, every community, we don't have, money falling from the skies or we're having it, we're growing it on the trees. So we have to take what the taxpayers have given us to be able to maximize those programming to the community. So how can we be smarter in our use of our resources so that we can be more effective and get bigger bang for our buck? There's even a discussion, there's even some thoughts about perhaps outsourcing some things. So what are some of the important elements of the department that maybe are not the core element, but maybe some of the sundry elements that we're spending a lot of time on that we shouldn't necessarily spend our time on, we should be back into the main core. So maybe looking at outsourcing some of those things or relationships with local nonprofits. How are we doing that? And then social media impact. We could do more social media. And I come to understand the department's getting into that arena, but it certainly is very prevalent because through the pandemic, people learned, all ages learned what social media is about. I have my wife's mother, who is 84. She struggles with it, but now she's through the pandemic because that's her grandchildren are connecting with her, FaceTiming, Zooming, how to use technology to engage. Even through meetings now, we're Zooming our commission meetings, which allows the community then to see from afar what's going on. So social media, technology, use of improving that area, that can help you be more efficient. And then programming, reinvent programming. Maybe the programming is just a little tired. How do we refresh it? And how do we make it a little more exciting? Promote. Also, one of the points is, how do we promote and maximize the use of our facilities? That's something that's important. We have some great facilities. Memorial War Building is a beautiful facility. Eddie's house, I don't know if I say that right, but it is a really great, has great bones. It just needs some love. And we have to refocus, you have to determine what's in the best use of that for the community. And how can that best be used? And also take into consideration the neighborhood it lives in and around it, and be cautious about their needs and desires. Overly impactful, things such as that. So there's a lot of really good things that you've been able to provide me. If you wanted to, you could certainly, I know that Sheila sent you that online survey. If you wanted to go back and fill more stuff out, you can do that. I'm going to take everything I can get. But I just wanted to share with you what we have gathered so far from this process. Is there any questions you might have for me before we start the SWOT analysis? I've overwhelmed you with too much. I apologize. This is just, and this next part is the fun part. Okay, so a SWOT analysis, everyone's done one. And it's just a really high level approach at looking at the community services department as a whole. And we're going to talk about the 4 areas: their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities, and their challenges or threats. And this is where I'd like you to brainstorm. Monsi's going to come up and we're going to write the strengths, bullet point them, just put them on the sheet. And there's something that you want to put up there, the sky's the limit. This is where you can dream big. It's okay to dream big. You don't have to necessarily think we can't afford it. That's what this is about. This is about how do we make this something that makes sense to y'all. So what do you think are the strengths of the community services department? You can go in order, you can shout it out, however you want to play. Chair, I'll let you play that card. Okay. Anybody? Sheila. All right. That's good. All right. We'll go with that. There's no wrong answer here.
Good leadership.
Good leadership. All right. But Sheila and good leadership. Anyone else? What's the other strength?
Culture and tradition.
Culture and tradition. Great. You guys are getting into this now. I feel the energy is going to start coming. What else do we? What's our more strengths that the department has? Energy. Okay. Yep, energetic staff. Look at them, huh? Look at them go. They're getting ready.
Attitude.
Attitude, thank you.
Reputation.
Reputation.
Education.
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 Education. Reputation, education. This is why you would not read my printing. Thank you. Let's see.
Enthusiasm also, like
In-
energy and enthusiasm.
Okay. We'll put that,
Provide.
we'll say energy and enthusiasm. right here.
Mhm.
Okay. Put the enthusiasm, my energy. And this is not, you know, you don't have to give me everything because I'll give you another bite at the apple. So facilities, great. Bigger, broader picture. Thank you. What other strengths do you see of the department?
I would say the way that even this commission and the ad hoc committee is run, I don't know how to encapsulate that into one or two sentences. It goes beyond leadership. It deals more with like community engagement. It's
Okay.
very present,
Okay,
and we are the community.
yeah, you are.
We're integrated in a way where there's a lot of voice to be had.
Beautiful. Okay. And that's at the commission level. So
Mhm.
commission's engagement with the community through the department. And I think, you know, I know that Sheila's
Yes.
probably given you this speech before, but you realize that as a community services commissioner, your role is to be an advocate of the department for the community to the council. Because you're appointed by the council. You don't get the decision making, but you get to share with the council what the community's thoughts are and how and what it means to them. So thank you.
Say that again.
Okay.
When you talked about like the specific role. Sorry, when you talked about that specific role, you
Okay.
said the role is,
So
it was very poignant, but I want to.
yeah, I'm gonna try to remember it again now. Not on recording, is it okay? I think I was saying is that the commission is serving the community through the Parks and Rec, through the Community Services Department. And then I had as a advocate, I messed it
Yeah,
up.
as an advocate for the department.
There you go, to the council. There you go. Thank you.
Okay.
Whew, a lot of pressure. I've already flunked that
Good-
test.
Good teamwork.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Teamwork, strength.
Okay, what other strengths? Let's just do a few more, then we're gonna jump into weaknesses and then we'll go back to strengths if we think of some others. We'll do a roundup. Any other strengths you want to add in before I flip to another channel? All right, let's flip. You know, historical stuff. I don't want, okay, now we're gonna do the weaknesses. Okay, so what do you see as the weaknesses? And again, Sheila has already told you, no feelings hurt. This is not personal. This is, we're trying to get your thoughts about what are the weaknesses of the Community Services Department. And some of the weaknesses could be strengths.
Limited budget.
Okay, limited budget.
A threatened budget.
What was that?
Threatened budget.
Threatened budget. Okay. What other weaknesses?
Better communication, I think.
Okay, better communication. Communication is a weakness. Got you.
We're not the highest priority in the city.
Okay, seem to not be the highest priority. I don't want to say for a fact, it is your perspective.
I would say connected to that, it's also, I think, a lack of awareness
Okay,
in the community about the depth and breadth of what the department does.
okay, so flipping that, the community doesn't really have an understanding of what the department does.
I don't, maybe not necessarily an accurate full picture.
Okay. Okay, let's think that one through a little.
Lack of self-promotion.
Okay, but, okay, I got a story on that one. So lack of self-promotion.
I mean, because I think to Karen's point, the the department or departments do a lot.
Mhm.
And I don't think there's like enough visibility to that end.
I will tell you that is systemic in our profession. Every municipality, I worked for Torrance, but since retirement, I did a 4-month gig in the city of Hermosa Beach as the community service director and then in El Segundo. And every department suffers from that. The staff members are so busy developing, growing, building programs. When they're over, they put them away and off they go. They don't know how to capitalize on celebrating
Right.
that to the community. And the community needs to see that to understand, right? Community needs to see that that's, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, my granddaughter went, that was really a good program. And they need to revel in that a bit. And I fully support. That's a weakness in almost every department. So we could do
Our
that.
fields,
Yes,
parks
parks,
are
So
very
our, open space?
underserved.
Okay.
I don't know what the word is.
Are they in bad shape
Yes,
Some of it.
some of them are,
for maintenance? Fields,
Yeah.
poor maintenance.
sure. And the contractors
Yeah.
that the city engages
Yes.
do not have the right skill set
Ah,
to maintain them.
that comes down to a scope of services, but okay, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, say, these are more the turf spaces or not the buildings, but the turf
Right,
spaces?
the
Open,
playing surfaces, athletic surfaces.
yeah, okay. So let's do the, open, the athletic surface. Yeah, surfaces are in poor condition. And, vendor not, knowledgeable.
Performing.
Yeah, knowledgeable on how to maintain. Yeah, vendor. Okay, what's another weakness?
Is that good, Sheila? Is that okay? Okay.
Underutilized spaces that could be revenue generating.
Ah, good. All right. Finally getting to the big R word now, are we? Okay, underutilization of space for revenue. And that could be facility driven, outdoor space driven,
All
Yeah.
of the above.
all the above. Yeah, great.
I think connected to that, beyond the field maintenance, there are facilities like the Eddie Park House.
Yeah.
That are really underutilized because of the condition. They're-
Oh,
Right.
so,
condition
so
and market,
because of the dire condition they're in, they're not being used.
Right, or can't be.
Okay. Okay. So. Creates underutilization. Okay. All right, what other weaknesses do we have? You haven't got very specific about areas in the area of the teens or the seniors or any of those areas. I didn't know if that, don't, or don't leave them off. this is your opportunity to shine, so.
Really great senior, community. They really are doing very well.
Good, good. I've toured it. It's a beautiful facility. It's a little tired. We need a little.
I think that speaks to what Karen was just mentioning, that, a lot of these facilities could use a little bit.
Renovation. Yeah. They could, say,
A little happier.
say renovation. Yeah, some facilities need renovation.
I was gonna say there's not a lot of engagement for teens. There's a lot of
Okay.
engagement for younger ages and older ages, but teens is kind of a gray area in the
And when you refer to teens, you're talking really 9th through 12th grade.
9th through 12th grade.
Okay, because different organizations and different municipalities classify teens even as junior high. And in the city of Torrance, we had a teen center, which was in its own just for 9th through 12th graders. And the junior hires had their own programming.
And there,
I
there
think
had,
it can be all, it doesn't have to, I don't think we should put like caps or limits on ages.
Okay.
If it happens to serve
Mhm.
more or less, then great.
Sure.
I don't think we should,
I-
so.
So some of the challenges we found with high school programming is you're a 9th grader and it's not as cool to be with those 7th and 8th graders anymore. So it's difficult. Teen programming is probably one of the most difficult things to achieve in any recreational programming because they're so flighty. They'll commit and decommit if their friends have a party that night. They're not all in. And if they say they are, you'll be surprised you'll have 7 people show up that night. So they need to have a place of their own that they can kind of have like a place to chill, that they can do their kind of a social environment. I would guess. Is that what you're envisioning?
Yeah, I was gonna say that. And then because I know some people don't think teens are like the best age group speaking. So maybe like a secluded area just for them would benefit all parties.
Yeah. Well, but what people are recognizing is the teens' ability to really engage and to be part of. There are certain teens, and you find them in the high schools that are high achievers, and they want to be part of solutions. And just for you volunteering on this commission, that demonstrates your willingness to find solutions for the bigger, greater good. So I tout you in that area.
It could also be connected to youth employment.
Oh,
That could be an
correct.
opportunity for youth. To give them jobs. It's not that easy when you're those ages to get jobs.
That's true.
And also we had plans, there had been some beautiful plans for a new center
Oh,
some years ago.
okay. Is this the one on Orange Grove
Yeah.
Park there? So renovation, yeah. And so those maybe need to be dusted off, right? Thought through a little bit. Okay. So did we get the team? High school age programming and
What about providing, like classes or types of things that they used to provide at the high school that the high school knows,
oh, the
not continuing education. but
yeah, I was
like,
thinking continuing education. That was more of the adult.
Like wood shop or auto.
Oh, got you.
things
The
like that.
specialty classes.
Yeah, because our community is maybe potentially high achieving,
Mhm.
but it does leave out kind of that segment of the population
Yep.
that might not be going off to college.
Trades.
Yeah.
So you have a WIB, right, Sheila, in Pasadena or South Pasadena? So there's a network that's nonprofit status also that is a work investment network, they call it.
Okay.
And they provide programming and training for specialties, a lot of times trade sides, but as well as for educating youth how to get jobs, interviewing skills. I would say maybe we want to start thinking about tying in a tighter partnership with that organization. If they're already doing it, let's don't recreate the wheel.
Right.
And let's see how we can then link our team, our high schools directly to it.
And that was probably too specific, but making those connections with other, service providers.
Yes,
Like the Y.
Right.
Or like this
right.
this organization, which
Right.
I don't even know about, but kind of aligning ourselves more or
Yeah, collaborating.
collaborating with
Sure.
other
So,
entities.
so weakness could be lack of collaboration with other entities.
Great.
All right.
Well said.
We're on it, baby. Okay, I'm gonna, one more call for weaknesses and I'm gonna jump us to opportunities. Oh,
Communication is, what does that mean?
it sounds like it's communication all through. So the internal communication, external communication for the department to the community and to the internal organization.
I don't know if again, if the community knows about all the programming that we do have.
Right. Let me see if we can capture that a little bit. So,
You can say communication and marketing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Communicate to internal. Let's put another bullet up. Better marketing of the CSD programming. I know you've got a web page now, right? Instagram, yeah, okay. Okay, so again, a lot of that is great, but you got to have, in today's social media world, Instagram, you got to stay current. Facebook, you got to stay current. If you don't, it dies. No one's going to pay attention to it.
Right.
And you can probably go through a lot of departments, other community service department's webpage and say, that was before the COVID. Why is that still up? You know, so that's a common, you need to refresh and engage. And then use those, that technology to benefit the pieces. All right, let's move over to opportunities. All right, opportunities. So this is a section that allows you to think big. So this is, you know, I'm not, you know, you could say we need an aquatic center in the city in South Pasadena. This is literally, okay, this is what are opportunities out there for us? Are there collaboration opportunities? What should we do? What do we want to see the department start to reach out on? And what could be the potential of the future in 5, 10, 15 years?
We need to reorganize.
Okay.
Our golf course.
Okay.
Our miniature golf and our driving range.
Okay. So the golf complex needs to be reorganized,
Modernized to.
modernized.
times.
Okay. Upgraded. Okay. And reorganized. And doesn't it also have a food facility or
A restaurant, food facility.
Okay.
At the location of well.
okay.
Well, it did. It hasn't been used in.
Right.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I go there every week.
Okay. What other opportunities do
I
we have?
would, I would piggyback off of that and say that restaurant facility is a huge opportunity for the community, a revenue opportunity for the city, and it is a huge miss.
Okay.
And it's been
Yeah.
down for way too long.
Okay.
And that pro shop, we used to have,
Right.
you know, musicians come in there and perform.
Oh, really?
Play and,
Open mic
yeah,
night,
open mic night,
comedy.
we, I think
Wow.
we're great following. We haven't, it's still there. and I don't know why they haven't gone back and done that.
Well, I can tell you, unfortunately, the pandemic caused everything to shut, but that doesn't mean it isn't needing to come back.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of that
see it back.
opportunity needs to be poked out a little bit and incentivized to be brought back. And if it's through you know, we were in the city of Torrance really big believers that if there were specialty areas that my staff didn't have the expertise in, we would put an RFP and concession it out and therefore leave liability exposure on the concessionaire and minimize the city's exposure and allow the city to garner revenue off of that, a percentage of.
There are, I think, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars that are left on the table because of the quality of the facility down there. whether
Yeah.
it's Golf course,
Oh, yeah.
driving range, the restaurant,
Yes.
rental income.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think there's
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
huge.
Okay. So I think, I really do think that the opportunities could be,
For the commission to know, I mean, it is in ad hoc and it is a big discussion right now
What does that mean?
about the ad hoc committee for the lease facilities. Okay. It is the number one priority out there.
Good.
So it's not that it's just dead and dormant. It's being worked on.
okay,
But it is an opportunity that the city needs to take advantage of. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, the top golfs and golf ranges and all these things that have been changed with eating facilities and things that we need to address. as a
Sure.
City, and it regardless of what it's going to cost, it's got to be something that the city really shoots for.
Yep.
Because I think in the long run, the revenue is going to be incredible.
Yep.
And something that the city has never seen.
yep,
But we have to make sure that everybody's on board and we can follow through.
And I'd like to add a little bit to what Alberto said. We are actively working on that right now, Alberto, myself. About 6, 7 others, and
I'm also.
we spent a lot of time and we see the possibilities. And it's not gonna happen overnight.
no, no, no.
But-
No, it's not an overnight deal.
No,
But you're going the right direction.
we-
and-
we- it was ignored for too many years and it's not right now. So,
And that isn't, and again, that isn't unique just to South Pasadena. There are a lot of cities that have different entities. Torrance is just, they got into the roller hockey facility years ago and roller hockey died. So what did they do with it? So they had to reinvent the use of that. And guess what? It's become pickleball. Ta-da! But you know what? It's understanding the community's wants and needs and reframing it to meet their desires and trying to find a way for the city not to have financial liability exposure. It's a win-win-win for everybody. So I love the fact that you guys are working. That's great.
I'm happy to hear that. I golf there every week. I go on the driving range and everything, so I belong to women's golf group there, and I'm there all the time.
Okay, well then,
Love to go.
it's a great course.
What about Garfield Park? Are there more opportunities to do more events there other than just
Okay,
summertime?
so maybe opportunities to do more
Holiday time, maybe.
more year-round events at Garfield Park.
Holiday time,
Okay,
Easter time.
okay,
I don't know. More.
Sure.
events. I overlook Garfield Park. I live that park.
that's
we all-
beautiful.
We all do, but it's just fantastic. It's so fantastic.
Yeah.
I hate to see summer end and all,
Yeah,
the performances end because they're so wonderful.
yeah.
And
Well,
I'd like to see more.
well, and I think it's great when cities are able to provide summer concerts, summer movies in the parks. Those are great community building efforts.
They stop.
Yeah. And well, they do. The weather turns it. Plus you got school. So you do, again, it doesn't mean seasonal program is not a bad thing. It just makes it exciting for next year. What's coming back? What other opportunities do you guys see?
Partnership
Partnerships.
related to some of the weaknesses.
Okay.
But partnerships with, and I think that's always difficult. There's many different entities that control different things.
Right.
But figuring out a way to work more closely with both other city entities.
Right.
As well as the nonprofit and
Okay.
business sectors. to
Okay.
Make some of these things happen with the limited resources.
Right. What about, do you have a reciprocal use agreement with your school district? Kinda? Okay. No, because that's a challenge. It's not, I would say it's not a threat, it's a challenge. I'm getting into that category, but it's also an opportunity. They have space, they have amenities that our community would love to use. And we have the individuals that might could teach a course, track program, flag football, use of their space on the foot. There's a lot of opportunities to be used if the school district is open to allowing the city to be able to use that. And if you think about it, you're all serving the same population. The citizens don't care who does it, just do it. So anyhow, it's a pondering. It's oftentimes, I don't want to overlook it because I think it's another valuable resource for your community. So, okay. What other opportunities do we have out there?
I'm only saying this through a lens as someone who also works in cities, but I think this is a citywide consideration of looking at salaries and doing a
Okay.
cost study, because I think when you talk about succession planning,
Yes.
from what I've observed, it seems like the city pays on kind of the lower end. And when you're trying to attract talent and
Sure.
retain talent, it'd be interesting, I think, for council to see how the city salaries here stack up against neighboring cities.
I'll tell you, I it's a dog eat dog world out there right now in the employment market.
Yes.
Employers are struggling to attract and retain. They may get them and they get cherry picked. And these employees, I won't say it's good, bad, or ugly, but these employees, the loyalty isn't always there to that entity, and they'll leave because they get more money in another place. So I think that along that line, sure, you have to, the council has to be comfortable, and HR and all the city manager, that the appropriate salaries are being offered and packages are being provided. But that's kind of a constant moving issue in the municipal sector. But yeah, it's all part of the retraction or attraction rather. All right, let's jump into threats and challenges then. We're going to make one more sweep back at these in case you thought of something. We'll get another bite. Okay, so this is the threats or challenges that the Community Services Department has. Some of these you might find now through looking at the strengths and the weaknesses, the opportunities might start to overlap in certain areas. So it could be a strength here and a weakness here, an opportunity, but yet a threat. Where do you see the challenges or threats are to the department, Community Service Department?
I mean, economical funding for sure.
Economic, okay. Funding. Always a challenge.
Always a challenge.
How about what else you have?
I think possibly the community,
Okay,
like the Rose Bowl, you know, it's a great. facility.
competition.
Well, it's a great facility, but they limit the number of events that they have because it, you know, that the neighbors are vocal. That might be one of the challenges we have for Garfield Park as well. As soon as you start bringing a bunch of people in there, you have a bunch of events
So-
throughout the year, people might begin to.
So you make a very, very good point. The NIMBY syndrome, right? Not in my backyard. It's great to have a park. Love looking out the window and seeing that park. Love seeing kids playing. But oh my gosh, they're now doing an event every weekend. I don't even get a weekend off. And so it's the responsibility of the staff members of the Community Service Department is they have to be able to understand that flow. And they have to get a sense of what's the tolerance level of that community and what is okay to have and not to have. You know, I'm a big believer. My study doesn't get into the depths of a needs assessment for the community, but I'm a big believer that a needs assessment is something vital. Not all the time. You don't do it every year, but you should do a needs assessment every 5 to 10 years of your community because it changes. Demographics change, populations change, attitudes, philosophies change. You go out in those needs assessment, you go to the communities, into their neighborhoods, you engage them, you find out what they want. What do they really want to see? And you let that vet through a process and bring that forward for the council to react to and say, oh my gosh, I heard that was an issue, but I didn't realize. How do we make that happen? It becomes a strategic plan measure. And I think needs assessments are great. I think once you do one, then the staff can keep it current as they reevaluate programs on an annual basis. And that will help you get out of this programs that are just hanging on by a thread because they've just always done it. And I think that's important to note too. That's kind of moving forward, strategic programming, as you might call it.
And this isn't just added to a challenge, but to add to what you're saying of just why a needs assessment is so important. And this is total hypothesis, but as a renter in the city, and I see more and more young families moving into rentals because it's so difficult to buy.
Yep.
You have to provide programming for people who don't have backyards and things like that for
That's
their
correct.
spaces, and they're moving here because it's a first-class school.
Yep.
But I would argue that your renters versus your homeowners, the demographics are very different in the sense that they also need more programming because of their limitations of their own
Because
economic.
they don't have their own
space.
resources. Yeah,
Right.
their space.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's capture that by
Changing demographic.
yeah,
Yeah.
the challenges are, you know,
addressing
funding,
needs of the
funding
changing-
slash economic. And then
Something
let's
that's
say
not
changing
necessary.
demographic, community profile changing. I like your thought because that's an interesting perspective
And it's
about
likely to
renters.
increase as the city's trying to meet their arena numbers, because I'm assuming
Yeah.
they're gonna be building,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
more
they've got that,
units.
yeah.
So I think that demographic is gonna
They
continue to
definitely
move
are
in that
building
direction.
more, yeah.
Demographic. The challenges are.
That's one of the bigger issues too. South Pasadena.
Constant change. So we have to.
That's
be
I
what
think
I-
that's the
Change.
community part of it.
Well,
the
that's
needing is
why I was-
something- yeah.
I was gonna
Yeah,
add that, is
yeah.
that, you know, the services that the community offers has
Mm.
probably been pretty similar for quite some time.
I think that's a fair statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement.
And so.
So it's almost like
Is-
assessing the community's needs, reinventing what you have to meet the current needs.
Right.
So it's,
Or exploring completely different opportunities.
or
Might
something
be.
totally different. Absolutely. You know, diversity is a big game right now. It's all about diversity. How do you engage and inclusive? You know, do you have having programs for your disabled populations, having amenities for your disabled populations? You know, all of that is your play equipment itself typically will have access, allowing the disabled to be able to
And
use
one
it.
more note on that of like self-advocacy. Your renters are also less likely to be in this room self-advocating because of their economics,
True.
right? And so the people, the voices then that float to the top are those that have the time and frankly, financial status to do so.
Yeah, or energy or a cause.
Right.
Often the cause is what does it. It's my child is not be given an opportunity here. Why not? We're a residence, right?
It's cause, it's time,
Yes.
and it's access.
Yes. Access. Got to be open and available. I agree with you there.
I would add, I think we missed the NIMBY issue.
Oh, yeah.
The neighbor, challenges, and then also, our unhoused population.
Okay.
So we're not immune, right, to our community's extreme housing crisis and folks who are living here unhoused. And that impacts for sure our parks and facilities and the needs of that population as well as the needs of.
As we go through, because you well know, public property, unhoused can live there. There may be ordinances that say you can't be there after a certain time of night, but then your police department has to enforce it. And that's not always the funnest thing to do because there's no place to go. So why don't we put down challenge?
Getting more and more in Garfield Park.
Yeah.
My workout group there, but we had to move because we're so sleeping there.
Yeah, if I go walking there at 5:30 in the morning, there's definitely people sleeping at the like pavilion.
I'll get
Living by the library and by the train station, there's a lot of activity.
Yeah.
And where the communities might say that.
I know I heard.
You don't want all the parks so open.
Like I've been on.
And then we also.
Yeah.
There's a lot more vandalism through that area.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's a growing concern in every community. It's really, really challenging. So I even noticed we have one out in the out in the courtyard every so often here. Yeah. What other threats or challenges do you think we have for this department?
Too many pizza parlors.
A threat is too many pizza parlors? Are you sure that's the full,
Different is maybe
that's the full food? It has your protein, your.
Variety.
fewer pizza parlors. No, I'm kidding.
Round table.
That's true, round table.
What other,
Not our.
Oh, that's fun.
you did a good job, Lila, of kicking them off course here. All right, back to focus here. What other threats, challenges do you think we have for the department?
The change in leadership.
Change in leadership. All right. Turnover, staff turnover, maybe? Okay. Get both those. Change in leadership and then staff turnover. And then lack of staff, or you guys, is there an issue with
Understaffing?
understaffing?
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know.
We still have a lot of temporary people.
Okay.
For a while.
I mean, are you looking before COVID, after COVID?
I-
I mean, during COVID?
I'm kind of
There was
looking
a lot
at
of
what do you,
change that
Yeah.
happened during those times.
right.
My understanding is we're getting back to staffing properly before the COVID time.
Okay.
So.
And if you
Am
guys
I-
want to
am
take
I
it,
wrong on that? Are we
Bec-
getting back to? Okay, we're. Okay,
You're fully
so
staffed,
part-time.
full-time people? Did you say full-time people?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
The part-time, okay.
so it's, I think the pandemic needs to be envisioned as a reset for municipalities in all services. Because the community has different expectations. Things have changed. It just, they didn't just freeze and then 2 years later, they're coming out again. The expectation is that cities, okay, we understand you had other priorities they had to deal with and we were stuck at home and all that, but now it's over and we're back and we want stuff. And I think that's why I'm hearing so many programming issues, because we need to go and look through what we're offering and how to broaden that base to a
Being more
community.
flexibility,
Flexibility? Okay,
and kind of taking on that challenge.
Okay.
After COVID,
okay.
what are we doing differently, or are we literally just going back to what we were?
Right.
doing?
Yeah. Is it always, yeah. Getting out of the, we've always done it this way syndrome.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's also making sure that the right assignments are in the right
I'm good at
department.
that. It is good at that. We've always done it
Everyone's
this
good
way.
at that.
Yeah, well, that's why
I think
we-
that's also making sure the right assignments are in the right department, because I know Jordan had mentioned, like, he reported out last time that he does inspections, which is great, and that may be
Yep.
something he really enjoys. At the same time, if we're asking for a limited staff to do more programming, more robust programming, is something like that, that's something that should be remain within this department, or is that something
Good
that's more like
question.
Public Works?
Good
So I think if
question.
you're looking at this as a reset, there should also be, as a part of this assessment, is everything where it's supposed to be?
That's
The
a
department that it belongs in.
very valid question. And, you know, I'm proud of him in getting his license because
Yeah, I
that,
don't want to take that away from you. I
that's-
love it.
that-
It's like,
that
perfect.
is-
I'm just saying, if we're
I-
asking for this much from this staff, it's,
it is,
small.
it is not an
Is
easy
that the right place
test.
for it to be?
It is not an easy test to pass. I did it in a year ago and he got through it. He did good. But you're right. Is that the best use of our resources? If our
Right.
focus is programming, should we be burning time on that?
Right.
When it could be certainly a responsibility of another department that is dealing with maintenance. That's a fair question. Fair question. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up strengths one more time. Is there anything that you want to add to the strengths page? Your last sweep opportunity. And if you felt compelled and you think of something during the middle of the meeting, I wish I would have told John, just give it to Sheila, she'll tell me. I'm happy to collect it and still add to it.
I think this goes along with all that's been said with attitudes and things like that, but this staff has, I think, shown a lot of flexibility, particularly during the pandemic,
Okay.
because this is, I think, the department that continued to really show up for residents in a very visible way as best they could to adapt
Oh, yeah.
and
Oh,
keep the community connected.
Yes,
mhm.
that's a tout.
Yeah,
All right.
that volunteer program, to go grocery shopping.
Yeah.
That was
We're gonna go
wonderful.
to this
So fantastic.
page.
I think the senior programming was really good. here.
Is there anything you'd like to add to the weakness page? All right. I'll take it to the opportunity page. Thing you'd like to add to this. What I'm going to be doing with this data is, of course, compiling it and then using it as part of the overall SWOT analysis that I've been getting all the city entities I've been having this interview through, so that I can kind of tie up the highest priority. Appreciate that. So I can have that to the commission and the council through the report. I want to thank you for taking the time. You have certainly, I'm going to feel my card for Sheila. I'm here. And just give any of your information to Sheila. I thank you for your time and effort.
Thank
I
you.
hope You have a wonderful, quick rest of the meeting. Thank you for giving me an hour.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
James. Whack. Oh, no applause, no applause.
So if everybody's ready, we'll move on to the next item, number 4. Guidelines for Community Services Department Events, Facilities, and Programs Management.
Okay, thank you. So in your packet, we have 2 items tonight that are our larger items. So the first one is the guidelines for the Community Services Department, events, facilities, and programs. In the past, this commission has reviewed this document, but it was called Policies, Procedures for the Community Services Department. So those who have been on the Parks and Rec Commission have seen this in the past. We just had changed the name to it. we go through this every so often to see what is changing in either a facility, if we've added a new facility, just to go through it again and again and again. And so we have done this. We have added a few of the municipal codes that were not in it. We have many campfire groups calling about campfires at Garfield Park. Discussing those kind of things, barbecues on parks. You can't bring in your own barbecue. You need to use the barbecues on the parks. And also mobile vending. We added for language for clarification. Also, our registration process has changed. We're no longer taking in faxes because we don't even have one for them to come through. So just kind of updating those policies, as well as our refund, how we do refunds, credits, transferring credits. So if I sign up for a class, but this has happened many times, all of a sudden someone has COVID, they can't attend class anymore. Some people want their full, their refund. And so it takes a check to issue. With our new policies and procedures through our finance department, it does take longer to get those checks before we could process it in 2 weeks. And now we are following a more stricter guideline to make sure all the documentation is in, that it's been approved by everybody, and finally our council before that check actually gets issued. So updating those kind of policies. We've also looked at our contract instructor contract and updated that and added a few new things there. Just to kind of give you just basic background. John talked about, our reservations in parks. So we just did some updating on that, including availability on Sundays. Instead of having, I think we had no Sundays, and now we added Sundays for 2 weekends at Eddy Park. We do have a lot of people that like to use the room either for like a small baby shower or get together. So we've been seeing a little bit change in that. So we've kind of gone through this. So you have the new updated version here. We use this as our guidelines. So the first thing is our athletic field. So this predates me, this whole policy here on field. So AYSO and Little League, the majority of those kids are South Pass kids. And so we make sure that if you are 50% or more South Pass participants on your organization, it's a free reservation. And so even Holy Family is one of these that gets a free field use because of the number, the 50% or more are our residents. So when we talk about, when we come for our field permit, we always say no fee, so no fee, literally, that's why there is no fee, because it follows this policy. We want to keep this policy in place and documented and approved by our council. So when those questions come in, but I have 3 kids on my baseball team, and we have limited field space, very limited. And for other organizations to come in to say, try and get field space, we just can't provide for it. Anyway, so in the league, we usually, if somebody comes in and I forget the name of the Cub. What is it? I forget.
The Coop.
Coob, there you go.
club-
Yes.
Yeah.
So
the
a Little
Cubbies.
League graciously allows them to use it on a Sunday during their reservation. It's a one tournament a year type of thing. And they come in and they actually pay for the reservation because obviously they're not youth groups, they're adults. So, I mean, things like that, but we have these policies in place for that.
Is there
Yes,
a
please.
difference between a organization that's youth versus adult? So when you mentioned
We
something
do,
for all adults, but
we,
if they're South Pasadena residents, why would the adults not have?
just because we don't have the time. Otherwise, I will tell you, you will probably have an inundated men's soccer club on the fields with you every night. I know you probably already do. They're not permitted and they're not resident. But that's the thing. We have outside adult groups that want to come in, but if we give them to you first, there's nothing left. There might be some space they try to get into, but we say no, everything's booked. We have tried to run adult leagues. When I first got here, we ran a basketball league at the high school gym and we ran slow pitch softball. And like John was talking about how things die out, just we stopped getting people even signed up. You know, I think the world changed, people got busy. And so we don't offer adult sports because we can't get people to sign up for them. And we don't have the gym space. And now even going to the school district, it's their gym space is limited. Maybe with the new gym, maybe new facilities, something could be a little bit different, but I think they got inundated when I think YMCA came in and I was running their basketball program in their middle school. So I think we're all using space. And so
Yep.
not to say we don't want adults, but we really try and keep it first for the adult. And there's not a lot of downtime. I mean, if you tell me a date and time when there's nobody on our fields, I don't think that exists unless it's kicking it off for
April
seeding.
and May.
Right. Just like, September through December, it's never used.
Okay, kids. So, that's our field policy. We also have, next is just park reservations. As you know, we reserve out our picnic shelters. So this is kind of the policy we follow when people call, because a lot of people call and say, well, I'm a resident. Don't I get it for free? No, sorry, you don't get it for free. And so we use this as our guideline. One of the things we always get questioned is the use of our facilities, our buildings. People, they say we're too expensive. And I think if you see our fees, we're not very expensive at all.
Oh,
And, they want it for free or, oh, can we have a discount? This doesn't allow me to give discounts. That any kind of fee waiver or anything goes through our council, but it also tells them what they can and can't do in our facilities. So it's our next backup to our municipal code, as well as when they sign, they've saying that they have understood our policies.
Sheila, just a quick
Yes.
comment to the thing that both AYSO and the Little League, yes, they do receive the fee waivers, but both organizations spent quite a bit of money on making
Right.
sure that things are fixed and in operational order and improved through
Right.
the years.
Very
So
much so.
there is
A give and
great
take.
give and
Exactly.
take from both organizations and the city, and it's
You are
much
correct.
appreciated, 'cause
Yeah, that's, we wouldn't
everybody should
survive
know
without
if
it.
the cities would go out and rent these fields, they would get them rented, 365.
Yeah,
And they
and no
make
down.
quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
On them. But it's given to our youth and our, organizations that are the city
Right.
residents. So it's much appreciated that what comes down in that exchange.
Right. Exactly. And so our next group would be classes. Contract classes is a big thing for us. As you know, if you walk through the parks during COVID, you saw many people running yoga classes and weight training classes and things like that. So and those were not our classes. So people are making money off of our facilities. And so, though we try and encourage them to be a contract class, we don't have a lot of guidance to kick them off our public facility, unless we know they're making money somehow. It's the only way we could do it. But we encourage them to come back to us with a contract, and say, we'd like to offer this class here. Because our own council member's daughter runs, a soccer classes, and her classes are inundated. I mean, they're inundated with kids. So that's a good thing. But to have a yoga class at 10 in the morning that has 50 people in it, and we're not making a dime off of it, and it's our facility. And so there's that liability that's there, that if someone got hurt, they're not going to go and sue that instructor. Who are they going to call? South Pass. Yes.
What do you do about the people who are having yoga classes there?
We try and reach out. We try and talk to them. Melissa's done an excellent job meeting with several of them. And we give them all the information. We hand it to them, and we never hear again from them. And we can't really kick them out, us personally, so, and the municipal code doesn't really state that we can exit,
And there are people having actual
oh, there's yoga.
clients there for therapy class.
Yes, exactly. And they call us because they want us to clean the park up in that area for their
I know-
meetings. Yes.
I know about that. Heard about that. Yeah.
So, But they don't understand that they just feel it's a public park. I can do whatever I want here. But so we do have guidelines for those who do become contract instructors to follow as well. And facility rentals, all the do's and don'ts of facility rentals, from you can't have an open flame candle, making sure you use those little tea light, LED lights. People want to hang things from the chandeliers. They want to bring in lifts to like put things way high. So we really have to limit those kind of things.
Big one, Dave. I've never seen it at the park. It's big, huge thing where it's like a acrobatic thing. It's really huge. And it was like an acrobatic, they were doing acrobatic thing from it.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
We know it's
Not
true.
city sanctioned.
This Orange Grove mid-level, is that like a meeting place?
People do meet there. Little League and AOS, or Little League has had many different
I
meetings
think
in
We
it.
used to meet there too.
Yes,
Yes,
probably.
And is that still available?
Yes, it's still available. I think a lot of like your officials, when they do their training, we're doing them at the youth house,
At the youth house, which is different, right?
which is different. That's at
Yeah,
Garfield.
Okay, right.
Right.
This one is like on Mission, right?
At Orange
right
Grove
across
Park.
From the,
Mhm. Playground.
Clean
Dry
it.
cleaners,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is our guide. Staff reviews it. We haven't reviewed it since prior to COVID. We are just getting back to people renting our facilities. And so I don't know if anybody has any questions regarding this. I know you've asked several in between, but we have all our staff here that could help out in any way, shape, or form. And any questions you may have.
Is it limited? Are these facilities limited in terms of how often they can be rented? Kind of like. what we
The
talked
War
about.
Memorial, no. December is kind of our off time just because we have the Tournament of Roses building the float there. We have 4 city events going on. But otherwise the war is pretty open. The youth house, we don't do Sundays. We do Sundays. No Sundays, right. So no Sunday reservations, but we do Saturday. Eddie, we only would do 2 Saturdays a month. Not a lot of people use.
And that's for the community, basically, right?
Yes,
To-
for anybody, right. So we have a
No,
resident,
no, no, but
non-resident
it's
rate.
Limited because of
Of
the
the
at the
community, yeah.
request of the community
Right.
that lives with.
Sheila, I had a question. I noticed at the back of the policies that it does talk about like styrofoam usage and single-use plastic carryout bags. Do you know when SB 1383 requirements around food waste are gonna be, like, if they're having an event with food that you have to recycle food waste is gonna be integrated into this?
That's a good one. We can add that one. Yes, we will, we need to add that one. I'll be 14.26.
Just help them with your Cal Recycle audit whenever it comes around.
Exactly. Food waste. So we'll add that because we do have an admissible code and everything for
Okay.
that. So we'll add that one. Thank you. Oh, it's that other city side of you coming out. So if there's no other questions, if we could just get,
Sorry, I had a question. Does community services, do they maintain the fields at South Pasadena Middle School as well, or is that maintained by the?
nope, that's all the school district. And that's beautiful. I'm very envious of the middle school right now.
I live near the middle school, and I was
Yes.
just gonna say that because a lot of the time there's just trash being spilled all over there. And on Saturdays and Sundays, it is just so packed. And I was wondering if there's anything that can be done about that, but I guess.
But as a liaison from our commission, you can talk to your school board about that. That's one of those things you get to take back. But yes, I mean, it is, I'm not sure who rents them on the weekends, and what their policies are, the district's policies to that renter. So,
Connected, just really quick, I don't know if it would be in here anywhere, but connected to the food waste question, is there something about, field, vendors, and the requirements about electric, equipment? I mean, would that fall under?
this wouldn't fall under us. That is, you're talking about like electric lawn equipment and things like that.
Or
No,
any vendor that you use, right, that would have any kind of equipment? Or
Um, it probably wouldn't pertain to us. I'm just trying to think overall facility wise. We don't allow the jumpers, so they can't use the electric, the electricity that way. No, because any maintenance, as discussed earlier, is done by Land Care, our contract maintenance, and they are in their contract already have that they have to use the electric equipment. So I don't think it would really pertain, but that, good thought.
Say food vendors?
No, no, like any kind of maintenance that has to be done.
Got it.
No, they have to keep in line with the city's requirements.
Right.
to use electric
Right.
equipment.
Right. It is in their contract. So when we went out for the RFP, it was part of that RFP process. So. Well, if there is no other, we will take these recommendations. I will insert the food waste. And then from here on, it will go now to council for their final approval. But with your recommendation, to move forward, if you'd like to
Do
make
we need a motion?
motion for that.
I will, has everybody reviewed them?
I have not.
If not,
I mean, I'm just looking at
The
it
other-
now, but
other members? Are you guys,
Are we,
Good.
by the way, are we taking items both 4 and 5 together, or do you want us to walk through
No,
5?
we'll,
Just do 4?
yeah,
Okay.
five's a whole nother animal.
Yeah. I make a motion to recommend the guidelines for Community Services Department events, facilities and program management with the addition of SB 1383 mandated food waste recycling to council.
I second.
Can I get a roll call vote?
Chair Rocha,
Yes.
Vice Chair Samuels,
abstain.
Commissioner Bissner,
Yes.
Commissioner Kwong,
Yes.
Commissioner Ocon,
yes,
Commissioner Tamas,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel,
Yes.
motion carries 6-0 to. There's a little stuck there.
Okay, to approve the recommendation of the community service. To make a recommendation that the community services department events, policies, procedure, program management, along with a friendly amendment with the SB 383 food waste to be added. Awesome.
So moving on to item 5, co-sponsorship and special event policy.
Okay, now this is a beast. I'm just going to tell you right now, this is big. We have, there's been many documents and many changes to this over the years. It was brought to the city manager's attention that we don't have a special event policy, so they wanted a co-sponsorship special event policy. So this is a relatively large document. We do have the co-sponsorship in here. So just to kind of give you how it was before, it was just co-sponsorship. And so if you wanted to be co-sponsored, you needed to be a nonprofit here in South Pasadena. You had to show proof of that non-profit status. You could have your facility fee waived. Any payment or permit fee such as a TUP, a temporary use permit, and a street banner, and one more thing. Can't remember what it was, the use of outdoor equipment, use of our equipment outdoors. And then what you did have to do is pay for obviously staffing, because that's a loss for us. You'd have to pay the refundable deposit. And you also had to pay for insurance, be it your own organization's insurance or the city's has insurance that you could get through the city for these items. So we're trying to put this together. And I'm not going to ask for a final recommendation because this is going through, I had a meeting today at 3 with all the departments. And so it's going through an ever-changing process, but I'm just really asking for some feedback. Is we as community services, we do co-sponsorship. We don't do the special event permits. Special event permits are encroachment, which is a street closure plan, or a block party, or a temporary use permit. So if I'm on a private property and I want to have, my business wants to have any, like a parking lot sale, they have to fill these ones out. They might have to go through, fire department for us if they're going to do like a fire in the fire pit at Garfield, but that's usually just our Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. We haven't gotten any outside groups who've asked for that yet. And then, so we're trying to put something together, and I think after today's meeting, it's kind of come out as a special event policy. And co-sponsorship will be a little under, section under that. And so we have been handling the co-sponsorships. So when you see the dudes doing their poker tournament, that's co-sponsored with the city. So they don't pay for the facility, but they pay their deposit and they pay for the staff that's there that'll clean, set up cleanup type of thing. The Chinese American Club, when they did their AAPI event, co-sponsored. On the list, I think it's in here. Actually, you guys are part of the AYSO, and Little Leagues are part of the co-sponsorship list, as well as Holy Family, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. Those are the kind of things that we're going to look to remove because you are not technically a co-sponsorship. These things are part of our policy or our guidelines that already give you that free access or fee waivers, as well as Holy Family. And so some of the groups that are on here, are not nonprofit. So if you look at the South Pasadena Unified School District, they're not a nonprofit, but they hold homecoming at the golf course. So this is where we are trying to figure out really who is that co-sponsorship, because this involves a lot of work on our side, setting up tables, chairs, canopies, and us to take them down. So it's a lot of staff time. We don't have part-timers. So who you see in this room are the doing that. Because we don't have the part-time staff because we have to use them for our after-school program, which is 18 hours a week. And right now they can only work 18 hours a week because of how our PERS system is. And then when we have special events, we can do one special event, a pay period to go over a couple hours, but not over a certain number a month. So it's a tricky game. So people like myself, Lucy, Melissa, and Natalie are management employees. So we are not salary or not hourly, we're salary. So we can work 10 hours and work another 5 hours and get nothing for the other 5. So usually we work with them so that I'm not pulling those two and getting too much overtime out there. So we're trying to condense this kind of co-sponsorship into a viable co-sponsorship. And what council can say is, yes, we want to. I'm going to give AYSO and Little League the meeting spaces they need to hold their drafts and their meetings and their official trainings. Holy Family, they use it for a couple weeks for their football, and AYSO is gracious enough to give them Orange Grove for, an hour and a half, Monday through Thursday. So we have that worked out. Even the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, we have their troop meetings on here. That's a fee schedule item. So do you see, I'm trying to pull those things out of it to not make it such a big, huge document. But if you do look at it, like we have the Oneonta Men's Club, I have no idea if they're a nonprofit. But through past management, it was like, no, they have to get this for free. We need to be kind. We need to do that. It wasn't city council. It was the management at the time. And so they're on there. So those are the people we need to start weeding out because they don't want to pay the full rate, but can pay the rate because they're not a nonprofit. Well, I don't know if they can pay, but. So I'm just kind of going through this to try and figure out co-sponsorship. What are your thoughts on the co-sponsorship and who we co-sponsor? If there's other requirements you think should come through, should not come through, we should take out. Any fee waivers that come to the city are council approved. I just can't waive a fee. If my boss tells me to waive it, then that happens. But I cannot waive a fee for anyone. So that's why we say, oh, you want your fee waived, you need to go through this process. So what we want to do is create an application that they complete and they fill out, telling us everything they want. And then we want to see, first of all, do we have the data available? How is it going to impact wherever it might be. Looking at where in the neighborhood it might be, and if it's at Eddie, how early are you there in the morning? Because it's very residential and around Eddie, so there are all those aspects we try and look at before we say, let's go to council for approval. And so just looking at this policy, I know it's a big document. If you can pull all the special event stuff out of your mind, it would be good, but I know it's difficult, but we tried to put as much as we can as to what you needed to do, what you needed to have. Even looking at the application process, it's a daunting process. It's a lot of applications. And so we're really trying to condense that down to one. But I'd love to know your thoughts on co-sponsorship. I know some of you have had this before. If we're being fair with some of the things I discussed with, AYSO, Little League, going on to those kind of things, and what a true co-sponsorship might mean to you. And if you need any other explanation. Please ask away, Ryan. No, we'll never know if you don't ask.
Well, is there, so I think, so I don't really understand a lot of this, but
Okay.
if there's a way that the city can provide these things and not have the burden fall upon the city employees to clean up or set up, and they can do it themselves, I mean, that seems to be quite onerous
Mhm.
of like, not only they asking for things at a reduced fee, but then they're saying, oh, and can you do all this stuff for us? That seems like, hey, meet us in the middle. We're more than happy. I mean, I
Right.
don't know.
No,
what the intended policy would be,
yes.
but if you want something, then
Right.
can you take care of?
Right. And a lot of times even bringing Public Works on for these, they are all on overtime when they come. So they're not only getting their hourly wage, they're getting overtime. And granted, the person has to pay for it, but where's that kind of work-life balance when you're always at work and not at home? So we're trying to get to that point to where we can, push back on some of it. And so that's where we really are trying to say, it's a true nonprofit. What event are you doing? No, we can't give you our tables and chairs outside anymore. If you're having an indoor event, we will tables and chairs, that's fine. Because they belong in our building. But once you start pulling stuff outside and what it looks like when it gets back and what we have to set up, and then you start setting up in the building and the dirt coming out of the bottom of the legs, and then you have to clean that up. It's just kind of one of those. So I don't know if you've looked at our tables and chairs that we use for outdoor events. They're just painted on and a wreck, but they're good for outdoors right now. So it does talk about, those kind of in-kind services that we can provide, and doing partnerships, but we're more, that's one thing I'm trying to really pull away is staff having to set up, because we don't mind, so when, say like AAPI did their event, we don't offer that type of multicultural event. It was a great event, but there needs to be more cohesive. It was just like, we set the whole thing up and we're just like, and then, they just came and did their thing and out the door they went, and they were then, okay, we'll clean up, I mean, I had 3 Public Works guys with me, but it was a lot for the 5 of us to clean up and all the trash that, that was produced and things like that. So really kind of honing in on, granted, if they pay for staff, then I guess, but we're going to get to the point where I will tell you, we'll get to the point our Public Works staff are like, I'm not signing up for anything. I'm done with overtime, and so that's why we really wanted to try and get that venture going where, no, you have to bring your own tables and chairs, you rent them, you have your company set them up, and turning more of the liability over to them. Yes, we take on a liability co-sponsoring the event on our facility. But they take on that liability if those are your tables and chairs, not a city table and chair that broke when someone sat on it or leaned on it, or a canopy that fell or blew away. So.
The maintenance part of it, right? That the cleanup, the setup, the cleanup, that, I think that burden should be shifted.
For sure.
Yeah.
As you're suggesting, I mean, and they can do it in any way, right? You can outsource all the rentals, right? Or
Right.
people to come, or volunteers or whoever come in and do all the cleanup, but that, I don't think that's appropriate to fall on city staff.
Okay, so your thoughts, I'm just looking through the list. You're okay with removing like AWSO, Little League and Holy Family because they're in our other policy that you guys have just reviewed and accepted. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, it's an actual fee schedule payment they make it's $11 per meeting, for 2 hours for a meeting. So it's really low. And so that'll be a fee schedule type of thing. A few of these others, yes.
Isn't it more of an administrative burden to like collect that money and issue an invoice for such a small amount of money versus just, I mean, I don't know, is that not appropriate to say?
No,
For-
we understand. And you know what? They're really good. Like they'll pay for like
Oh, no,
3 or
I'm not
4
saying
months
they
in
won't
advance.
pay.
No, I get what you're saying. It is a small amount, but
Yeah.
but they don't technically make a lot of money, Boy
No.
Scouts and Girl Scouts.
No, I'm not saying to charge them more.
Right.
I'm
You're saying not at all.
like
right.
what kind of,
Right.
you know, again, just if we're looking at, you know, we have a small number of staff,
Mhm.
they're only able to do, you know, there's a finite number of things, is collecting $11 on a regular basis, the right use of time. I don't think.
So
Yes, sir.
thinking of, the co-sponsorship and the big item tickets that you're talking about where the staff, literally the city staff was putting up, I didn't realize that, the homecoming dance just happened. I mean, is this the same thing for like the staff?
They paid for the
events?
golf course staff. Mhm.
But
They pay
do
for
pay.
staffing. No, I did not have to do anything because there's a staff at the golf course, and though they were there and they were the ones that made sure there's trash out, but they brought in their own DJ, their dance floor, their tables and chairs. And
Oh,
they
okay.
said it was different. They really did all their own setup and breakdown. And so some of them are really good. Because I always tell them, I don't think you want to go into the restrooms. So please bring like a nice porta potty truck with you. And then they had a dance floor. We don't have an outdoor dance floor, and then they moved it indoors and we don't even have an indoor dance floor. So they were able to do some of those kind of things. One of the big events, if you were there, the Lunar New Year event by Marengo Elementary School at Garfield Park or at Orange Grove Park. That came amiss right at the end of COVID, where it was kind of not COVID, but then it came back right after. And me and Jordan and Israel, we set that one up. Just because they couldn't get public work staff because we had so many people out. And so
Is
those
there-
are those
is there
events.
a policy that we can put
Well,
in
that's
to
what-
make sure
That's
that-
what
so
we're
that's
trying
we're
to
looking
talk
for, right?
about. We say that, you can do, if you pay for staff, we'll do it. But is there if we want to change that up, this would be the kind of the time to say, you know what, hey, their setup and cleanup, everything needs to be
Well,
on them.
It's time to put it in there because
Yeah.
it's just not,
Absolutely.
that's too much of a burden. I mean, it's way too much of a burden on our staff to be able to. I haven't imagined that you guys were actually setting this stuff up.
Oh, yes.
Or our public works
Mhm.
departments are out there setting these things up, especially when, there's a collaboration between two organizations. And they're not providing the finance to make sure that their end is taken care of as well. So yeah, we should definitely have verbiage in the new guidelines to, there's got to be a fee paid for these services. You just
They
can't
do
go out-
pay for the staff.
But labor, Yeah. not the
Yes,
city.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Sheila, just for clarification,
Mhm.
you're asking, when we look at this list, Exhibit A,
Mhm.
what does it mean if we say that one of these groups should not be part of?
So what our plan is to really take a look at it. And I'm going to, there's a few of them that I have their information from this year. And then a few of them that they're nonprofit thing, we ask for each year because it does, if they don't pay for their nonprofit status again. And so there's a few, I continue like, hey, we need your updated thing, and they'll send it. So we're going to get the updated, but there are going to be some groups that probably won't be happy because we will be asking them like, you either pay full and you run, like if you reserve the war memorial, you reserve just like Joe Blow Citizen reserves it, You pay your hourly rate, you pay for the use of the kitchen, you pay for the staff that is there. The staff there is only to assist set up and take down. They do not do it solely on their own. They will make sure that there's trash bags and that, if they need to empty a trash can, they will. But it's not their, so they have a checklist of things. So when they in the night, they have to go through it with that person who reserved it, saying that you've cleaned up, you've put the tables and chairs away, you've taken all your decorations down. So, and then that gets turned into us so that we give them their refundable deposit back.
So if you're removed from this list,
You're removed from the list. People like AYSO, Little League, and Holy Family will continue because you're still part of this approval guideline that we just did. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, removing from the list just because that is a fee base the council has already voted on and approved. So no matter what, I can't change or take the pay. So that's why I'm just saying they're ones that we can remove from the list, so they don't have to be on this list. This is just like over the,
right, so being organizationally
Mhm.
agnostic, if a organization were to be removed from this list, what are the implications?
so we are going to do kind of a contact. Some of them have a contract with us for the year, so we'll finish out their contract. I do believe Men's Club have a contract through June. June, Natalie? So they'll let them finish out their contract, but once the recommendation comes from you and it goes to council for final approval and everything's been approved, then they'll follow up with a letter just saying on this day, the new guidelines are, your reservations will end in June. After that time, this would be the cost of your reservation if you choose to continue, because they take off July and August, they'll come back in September. And so they still be aware, and it'll also give them time, 5 or 6, 7 months to look for another location. They may come back and get upset at me, and then I'll remind them that it was the council approved, and then they'll probably contact our lovely council member. But most of them will say, this is what was approved through or not approved, however it might go.
So it means that it will become more expensive, right? So
Right,
in the
that
end,
they
for
will take on
these-
the full
for
cost.
these Organization, right, for these entities to,
Right.
to hold their events
Right.
in our parks and facilities. Excluding the ones that will be part of the other arrangement.
Right. And I'm not saying like, oh, take out the whole school district thing. I'm just gonna make sure that it's noticed that this is, because between us and the school district, though, it might not be in writing anywhere. When we use their facility, they don't charge us a facility rate. They just charge us to pay for the maintenance of the staff that comes in to unlock the facility and maintain the facility and make sure the facility is clean when we leave. We do the same. They pay for, us to be there, to open up, to make sure the facility is fine, clean up after the facility. We just don't charge what they do because ours are rec leaders and those are, maintenance workers get paid a lot more money and they're on overtime. Usually our staff are not on overtime. So, it's $45 an hour currently that we charge per hour.
So I'm still trying to get a concrete example. So like the Rotary Club holding a chili cook-off. So how would this affect them directly? It would cost more for them to use the facility.
Well,
Right.
because they are a current nonprofit in
Yeah.
South Pasadena, we will probably continue that use.
Okay.
So they just don't pay for the use of the facility. But they have always had their insurance, they pay for our staff, they pay their deposit. So it's those kind of indoor ones are not a problem. It's all the big outdoor events that obviously don't have tables and chairs just readily accessible to them that we have been providing.
Okay. So it's dealing more so with outdoor events hosted though still by nonprofits
Mhm.
that are not necessarily a part of the covered by the other policy or like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts that council's already approved, right?
Right. So all these were approved in the last time we did this, 2018. And so what really should say is your, pre-approved co-sponsored nonprofit organizations. So that when council comes back and we show them the list and we tell them, this is why each one was taken off. Are you okay with each of these being removed? Then they can say yes. And then we can say, this is the approved for 2022 23 co-sponsored events. And I'll bring it back each year because someone inevitably always wants to come and start something new, or they change their event. So, and then I tried to make sure, like it says, a facility, or if it's just a street banner, so you kind of understand, the street banners are very different compared to Public Works will put those up and take those down. But there is insurance that goes with a, street banner as well.
I mean, I think that makes sense for outdoor events in particular, just because those tend to be higher impact generally. Like when you're talking about because I know past this, you're also asking for other feedback. And the one piece of feedback that I had is we're going in this direction of asking organizations to do more and pay for more of the legwork. I think if it's going to be something like a 5K that also impacts like street closures, it should be on that organization to notice the houses that street is going to impact versus the city staff having to do it. And I didn't see that in here at the moment.
Yeah, it's not. So that's a
Noticing.
good add.
Yeah.
Okay. But looking at this, so we do have the South Pasadena Tournament of Roses, which is a committee of the city. So that really wouldn't change. Chamber of Commerce, obviously, there's a partnership. That wouldn't change, but we do make sure it's on there. And then most of the other ones, the, SPEF, that's a nonprofit, Kiwanis, a nonprofit, most of them are a nonprofit, and they do their events either in conjunction trying to fundraise for scholarships for our kids here in town. They're obviously paid events, but this is the way they create their fundraising efforts for those scholarships. I mean, most of them do some great scholarships for our high school kids. So, I mean, kind of listening I'm just going to throw some things out here. Is to, you can make a recommendation on shifting the labor from staff to the organization. Adding a notice that the organization does noticing to residents for especially at 5-10K runs that'll impede a neighborhood. And then okay for removing Little League, AYSO, Holy Family, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts from this list, as well as the only one that is not a nonprofit would be Oneonta Men's Club. But those are the things that I've kind of just, so you're not here all night. It's just kind of putting it into a little bit of perspective for a motion. And then anything in this policy, like I said, I'll take whatever recommendations you give me, we'll add it. It'll probably come back to you, and it'll honestly probably come back to you as a special event, and then co-sponsorship will be a part of it. Like I said, when you look at special events, I don't do the block parties. I don't do TPs or CUPs or encroachments. I don't do any of those. So now if that's all coming to us to do these, that's another like element that's going to be added. Instead of just going to PD because I want to do an assembly at a park, or, I want a block party this day. So I don't know if you want me to repeat all these things, or you guys just want to say so moved.
Yeah, I think I do. And
So, I mean,
we'll
just,
throw motion in front
How
of
about
it.
this? A recommendation, and you can say yes or no, but to shift labor from city staff to organization, add noticing of residents impacted by 5Ks to the organization, remove AYSO, Little League, Holy Family from the list because they fall under the department guidelines for free events or free usage. Remove Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts from the list because they are a part of our city's fee schedule payments. And then the only other one would be remove Oneonta from the list as not being a co-sponsor or a nonprofit.
I mean, I can make this motion. I can say the whole thing.
Oh, good. Okay.
I want you to think
Uh,
about this.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Think of it, give it before you make this motion. Give it a
Okay.
little thought.
Give it a-
It's it's a tough motion. I'm trying to think. of
Yeah,
how
and you
I-
can break it up. It doesn't have to
Oh,
be one
okay.
motion. You can break it up into however you want. And it
Okay.
could just be your recommend motion to recommend
Yeah,
and not,
because
oh,
it's gonna
we
come
want
back
it on-
anyways.
It's,
So
yeah.
I make a motion to recommend the following edits, removing the Onata Men's Club from the nonprofit list, shifting the labor setup and takedown to the applying organization, requiring organizations that impede traffic. So an example would be a 5K, but there'd be other things that could cause street shutdowns that they have to do the noticing of the impacted residents. Removing from this list pre-approved organizations that are already covered under Community Services Department policies and also the city council approved fee schedule.
I second it.
Okay.
No, it was like,
I
oh,
didn't miss
no.
anything, right?
No, you were
Okay.
great. That was on the money.
Very good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thinking about it. Perfect.
I want Councilman Donovan's
That was
approval
about
on
as
this
good
one.
as it gets. That's a tough one.
Yeah, very good. Very well
Okay.
done. Very well done.
Very, very well done.
Roll call vote.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries 7-0.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank
That was a lot.
Yes, thank you, Sheila.
you, Sheila.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it is a big,
For everyone.
will come back again, so.
Moving on to item 6, city council liaison communications.
I think the only thing I want to make sure everybody here knows, if you don't already, that council finally came to a final agreement on the beefowl. Beefowl will be removed to a safe location. We're going to pay for the removal, and that commences as soon as they're the end of the mating season. The mating season's over, but the I don't know what the season you call after that, where the little chicks become big chicks. Okay. And so the removal will probably start, I believe, in December.
Oh,
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Until all the peafowl are removed to a safe location.
What's the safe look?
Did you really? do
They were protesting removal.
it? Okay, you realize, Brian, you cannot feed them. Okay. All right.
Doors open.
And
Safe location.
Oh,
yes, a safe location. I'll bring that up.
You invite.
Okay. The other,
turn around. Oh, take-
and the other thing I wanted to, okay, and the other thing on a more personal note, we did, you all talked earlier about the facilities and how often they're used, et cetera. Spent a little time on that. I had a personal experience, and I think that a good place to share it is with this group. A couple of weeks ago, one of the constituents came to me and complained about they had already arranged to rent the War Memorial Building and complained about the condition of it after they had signed the papers, et cetera, made their plans for a wedding reception. So it was a big day. It was something they couldn't cancel. I passed on their concern to Community Services Department, and they did a fantastic cleanup. And it needed a lot of TLC. It's sort of been neglected for years. It's very easy to do. And they came in and just made it a first-class facility. The residents have since thanked me numerous times. They've sent thank yous to the staff. But the so what for this commission is that today and yesterday, tomorrow, that War Memorial Building's in great condition for rental. And it's a well-kept secret. You don't think of it, but when you see it well, I got my phone on me, but I'll pass it around. If you see that facility like I did last Saturday with, we had about 125 people there, all set up, maybe 8 to a table, decorated. And I walked in and said, I got to take some pictures of this. And I took a few of them. And the way they decorated, which wasn't necessarily the city, but the facility itself was tremendous. Big kitchen in it, large serving area outside the main ballroom. And it's something that we need to know about. We meaning the commission needs to know about it, number one, and the residents need to know about it, number two. But during the course of the year, you're on the commission, let's keep that facility up. It makes a lot of money at the end of the year. And you mentioned earlier the other facilities, I think, Brian, you brought it up that, that, there's so much money out there, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. You're absolutely right. And this ad hoc committee, Alberto's on it, Karen's on it, I'm on it. There's, I think, 8 of us on there, trying to cover 2 from each of the departments, finance and that. And the money's out there and we're aware of it. And hopefully, I don't want to jump ahead because we're working on it, but it's being worked on and there is a lot of money to be made. And I believe it's going to happen in the next couple of years, little by little, one area at a time, probably. So, and that's all I have to add to tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Moving on to number 7, staff liaison communications.
I know you've heard a lot from me, but just to give you kind of an update, as Councilmember Donovan mentioned, the PFAL. So PD did a great job for all the forward work and getting the management plan done, and getting the RFP out to have a Raptor come in and catch our PFAL. And so now it is on the Community Services Department to handle that contract now as we move forward. So one thing you will probably see and you'll wonder, what are they doing? Well, I need volunteers to house a 10 by 12 cage with a soft top, like mesh top in their backyards, especially in the Altos, to start trapping these birds so that they can be taken. They will be taken to very nice homes. Santa Barbara, San Diego County, where people have land and they can kind of roam the land. If you want to know a little bit more about the person, Jonathan, who's doing this, if you go on the council or the city website under the council meeting from last week and watch the video and just go straight to the, I think it was item 12, the PFAL one, you'll able to see his video and or his slideshow and kind of how passionate he is for these birds. He is not anyone who I think would harm anything. We all just sat there and going, oh, it was like, oh, nice. So it was good. I learned more about PFAL and birds than I had ever, but, so just to give yourself a little bit more information, he was really good. You'll learn about him. You can look on it online type of thing. But, so now it'll be coming to community services and we will be sending out information to people volunteer to put a trap in their backyard. When you have PFAL in there, you give this, we'll give you a number, you call straight to Jonathan and he'll be at your house in 24 hours to pick up the birds that are in there. So, but he'll talk, if you watch the video, it talks about how he humanely does it and everything. And birds are his thing, like dogs are mine, birds are his. So I think, we're in a good place there. And Councilmember Donovan is very kind. But I do have to say the War Memorial was, my department, we rent it, we program it. Public Works is the maintainer. Public Works got on the janitorial crew and got them in there to clean it. And so we are trying to work with Public Works to keep this going. And so we don't have an embarrassing email coming in from our residents talking about how bad this is. So it was a very good, I'm just hoping it was a good outcome. I just wanted, like I said, I wanted to continue. So we're really kind of saying, hey, did they get in there? Did they do this? Did they this? Because we have lots of events coming up at War and we'll be the first to notice if something is not clean. But we also have weekend reservations who will be the second one to notice right away when it's not clean. So thank you for thinking it was us. I just passed the word along. But we appreciate your efforts because we've been asking for a long time to really get on these people and it really pushed. So we appreciate it. So otherwise, I think it's enough for me. I'm trying to think if I forgot anything. PFAL.
If we have birds,
Do you want one? I will put one in your backyard. They say you can't. No, they say you can't have dogs because dogs scare them away. That's the only. Well, the other day we had council on Wednesday, Thursday, I'm in a meeting with John and I get a video of 3 peacocks or PFALs that are in our community, our senior center walking around. And she's just like, so if you have an open door, they'll come in just to kind of wander around and explore.
like, there's a bird in my or like?
If it's trapped only. Only if it's trapped. They're not gonna come and get it because the bird could be gone by the time they get there. Yeah,
Let me add that.
and I don't know if I can hold it that long. but-
The trapper knows where to put them, okay?
Yeah.
But he needs volunteers to put them in the backyards. And the reason for the backyards is that that the traps will get vandalized because a lot of people, there's a couple of schools here and there's a school that does not want them trapped, thinks they're very pretty. I think they're beautiful, but they're not in my backyard, not pecking on my car. So that's the reason for the backyard. So it really has to be volunteers. There'll be no public traps, as you might say. Everything's going to be in the backyard. And it will be removed within 24 hours. So
And you don't live in the Altos. You live
Wonderful.
like our Orange Grove, right?
Where do you live?
Okay, moving on to number 8, division liaison communications.
Good evening, Community Services Supervisor Melissa Snyder. For those of you who don't know me, because I was not at our last meeting, I am the supervisor that oversees our senior services and other duties as assigned. So I'll briefly go over what we kind of have going on. So on the senior side of things, we resumed our excursions this past September. We went to the Getty Center, and our next trip will be to the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures on the 20th. So we're excited to have those back, and our seniors are excited to get out and do some traveling. We also hosted our Healthy Aging Fair again. This was the first Healthy Aging Fair that we've hosted since 2019. So we had 30 vendors come out with resources and referral services and other services to our seniors. And we had roughly about 200 seniors come through at that event. We hosted our first flu shot clinic on September 28th in a while. And we plan to host a COVID-19 booster clinic on November 2nd. So save the date. This week is dumpster day for our seniors. So all throughout the week, Athens is out picking up large bulky items from our seniors' homes. We partner with Public Works on this event. And what happens is seniors call us, they make a reservation to have bulky items or multiple items picked up from their homes. And then that way they don't have to lug this stuff out to an event elsewhere. And then just so you guys know, this Saturday will be a drive-through service, I believe on Mission and Arroyo. For your guys' bulky items, if you're interested. I believe they're there from 10 to 2, but I'd have to double check the flyer. So save the date for yourselves. And then some save the dates moving forward for the senior stuff. We have our Halloween luncheon on October 31st, and we'll be having a costume contest with our seniors. And I think they'll be really excited about our staff costume as well. And then we're having a Veterans Day luncheon on November 9th to honor those who have served, and a Thanksgiving luncheon on November 16th before the fall break. So that kind of wraps up our senior services right now. I encourage you guys to check out our newsletter. It's bi-monthly now, so it lists pretty much everything and anything else we also have. And then pertaining to the other duties as assigned, one of the projects we've been working on is updating our management software system. So we currently use Sportsman, and we got approval to get a new system, which is called Civic Rec. So we're beginning in their implementation process with that. We'll have our first meeting with them this Thursday and begin the steps. We're really excited about this. It's going to really help with our staff load of work. It'll allow residents to do a lot more stuff on their own online. It'll connect to their social media channels so they can share if they're taking a class. They can look at gazebos when they're available. They can begin facility rentals all online. So it'll hopefully reduce the amount of in-person and phone calls our staff currently take to help alleviate more time for them to do additional things. And then if you don't know, we have social media now. So I know that was discussed. We're just starting out. So if you don't follow us, I recommend that you do. But in the last 30 days, we reached 1,652 unique social media accounts, which is a 150% increase on our previous month. So we're really excited about that. And then we increased our following by 13.5%, which is great. But if you're not following us, I recommend that you do. So you can keep up to date kind of with all of our stuff going on. So we post about our current programming, we post about upcoming events, and then we've been doing recaps of any time we have an event. So that is everything for me. I'd be happy to take any questions, but if there's not any, I will hand it off to the next person.
You know the handle off the top of your head?
Yes, I do. So it's South Pasadena, the whole word, and then COMSVC as in community services. That's on Instagram, but we are on Instagram and Facebook. And I'm trying to keep it to that for now.
Great. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm here to provide an update for our recreation division. So for indoor and outdoor rentals are steadily happening right now. For the month of September, the recreation division hosted 2 private facility rentals, one at the War Memorial Building and one at the Garfield Park Youth House. Additionally, for the month of September, the recreation division had a total of 57 park gazebo rentals. We had Garfield Park hosted 27, Oriole Park hosted 22 rentals, and Orange Grove Park hosted 8 rentals. For the month of October, we did have our walk or bike to school day on Wednesday, October 5th, which was a great success. We had over 1,000 participants, which we gave away cute little highlighters to everyone who walked or biked to school that day. We were at the 3 elementary schools and our middle school, and the South Pasadena Fire Department and Police Department were there also to support us. So it was a really nice and fun morning to see all of our kids walking out there or biking. For our fall recreation classes, our classes started with 492 participants enrolled. We offer classes in dance, music, cooking, fitness, skateboarding, soccer, and a lot more. Our newest class did fill up very quickly, which is our pickleball class that starts tomorrow at Orange Grove Park. Please take a look at our guide. We do have information of all of our upcoming classes for the fall, and we're gearing up for our winter session as well. Our teen center, I will have Jordan speak on the teen center and Cat Med, but a couple upcoming save the dates is our annual Halloween Spooktacular event that's scheduled for Friday, October 28th at Orange Grove Park from 5:30 to 8 p.m. This is a free event and we offer a lot of fun for the families. We have carnival games, inflatables. We will have a dry ice show this year, which is super exciting. And then we'll have food for sale. So please join us at the park. We're also getting ready for our Breakfast with Santa event, which will be scheduled for December 10th, along with a couple other holiday events that we're gearing up to do. So we'll have more information at the next meeting. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. And I'll have Jordan.
Hi, good evening. I'm Jordan. I'm the program specialist for the department. I primarily oversee our Camp Med after school and summer camps. So after school Camp Med is still going strong. We have roughly 65 kids from our 3 elementary schools in camp every day. This Friday, we're taking a very exciting walking trip down to the pumpkin patch at the corner of Fremont and Mission, where the kids will go and buy pumpkins and take photos. So we're all very excited for that. As referenced by Natalie, we just relaunched our Teen Center program. So speaking to something that Gabriel brought up as it relates to providing things for the teens of our city, we relaunched at the Teen Center at the Senior Center, ironically enough. But it's a much nicer space than, well, we love mid-level. We love our cute old building over there, Orange Grove Park Recreation, but the space itself, collaborating with Melissa and the Senior Center to have a space where the teens can, for Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 3 to 6, providing a space where they can come and kind of just have a space of their own, some quiet time for homework or music or reading. I donated a ping pong table from my parents' house. My mom was very excited to get out of her backyard. Again, that just relaunched. And so that's for 11 to 15-year-olds. We've already gotten a few people. We had our staff out at the farmers market for several weeks promoting it. We're distributing through the school district's communications. They wouldn't allow us on campus, unfortunately, but we are doing all we can to get the word out through the PTA, through Megan from Burt West, who we've connected with, who's Jack's daughter. Who's very excited about it. And so we are, if you have any connections to the kind of demographic they're looking for, please let me know. We're doing all we can to get the word out and we're very excited about it. So we're working on some programming and some well, not working on programming. We've established programming and little mini trips and working with our community garden and that kind of thing. So really providing a space where they can just call their own and have a space to kind of be themselves and in a safe and quiet environment, while also kind of in the heart of South Pass, which is very exciting. So we're also working on relaunching our volunteer program, which would be for the older teenagers, so 13 to 17, providing them volunteer opportunities within our department. So right now we're focusing on having them work at our senior center, or volunteer at our senior center, I should say, at things like tech days and just kind of working out over there and getting them connected with their community and seniors. So 2 things that we are very excited about. And if there are any questions, let me know. And if not, I will.
I have one question.
Yes.
Can you repeat the hours for the teen program?
Yeah.
teen
So
area?
it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Jordan, is there a way of getting some links to those programs so we can put on the SPLL website and send out?
Absolutely. I
I
can
mean,
send that.
that's,
I can
those are
send
the
that.
numbers of our, youth. So it'd
For
be
sure.
great to.
Yeah, I can
to
send them to you
send it
directly. They're
out.
also available on our website, both the flyers and the application. We have found that the application itself is a little bit of a barrier of entry, but it's just kind of one of those things that we do need to have, unfortunately. So we've had some teens come in and they kind of want to hang out. We say, here's the application, go home, take it back, bring it back, signed by your parents. But I'll send those things to you directly. I can get your email from Sheila or one of them. I'd be happy to do that. But otherwise, it can be found on our city's website and under our department.
You send them to me too.
Yes, I would love to.
I
One
would
more
just
thing.
recommend sending this stuff to the commission, like generally, because I know you want to stay on just Facebook and Instagram, which I appreciate. Some of us may be on Nextdoor and things like that, places the city doesn't want to be. And so sending these types of marketing materials, not just your programs, but even dealing with the Halloween event and things like that, if there's a flyer, so we can disseminate it among our channels is really useful.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes we're kind of our own best kept secret. I know we're doing a lot and we were really
And leverage the free labor.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah. Melissa's doing a great job of kind of getting our social media going. But I do know that people like you are able to be in channels that we can't necessarily be, like you're referencing. So that's a great point, and I'll definitely get that information to all of you.
Please. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, Commissioner Fogel, I think you had a point. So sorry.
Sorry, just one more thing. So about the teen area, you said you weren't allowed to go onto campus and like at SPHS to talk about it, because I feel like that'd be a really good, people would really be able to like go to that. They would really understand. So, and the middle school too, since it's 11, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Sorry. Oh yeah, I can totally just.
So, I mean, our experience with sending flyers to the school, there, you have to put in on the flyer, there's a little notice that the school wants to appear. I mean, as long as.
And we do
those
have
are
that. but-
there, I mean, you just need somebody to access and distribute it for them.
Yeah, so our flyers, we did add that disclaimer.
Okay.
Melissa did. They need something that says it's the programs aren't endorsed necessarily by the district, which is fine. We have that. We did get that to them, and they did distribute that last week through whatever means they do. I think they have PTA contacts and whatever it may be. I was told that that it's not a possibility for us to get on campus. Maybe it was just the person I talked to. It was Cynthia Holiday, I believe, who I know works in the district with the, I know she deals with a lot of communication, so I'm not sure if it was just a her thing or it's just, maybe it's kind of new protocols as it relates to COVID or campus security or whatever it may be. But I'm doing anything and everything I can to get that information out. So I'll definitely get that out to all of you, and we can kind of go from there. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Check. Good evening, Community Services Commissioners. My name is Israel Suarez. I oversee our transit division. I think I know most of you already. Just gonna give you a brief update about things that happened this past month, increase in service. In comparison to the month of August and September, we did have a significant increase in service. In August, we had 504 one-way trips. So that's anywhere within the city limits and outside of the city limits to medical facilities. And in September, we increased that by 174 trips. We had 678 one-way trips in September. We are getting a few new staff members in the transit division. We have a management intern starting tomorrow. He is coming to us from a nonprofit in Pasadena, has experience working in economic development, and we're looking forward to having him. He's going to be assisting me with microtransit and audits, audit preparation, and any other administrative tasks that I assist. We also have one more staff member joining us soon. We have a driver and backgrounds. So we should be getting an additional driver, which will help with service. Something I've noticed a pattern in the transit division is that towards the end of the day, it's a little bit difficult for scheduling, just because we do shuttle for the after school program for our recreation division, and it does take away one driver for an hour and a half, and that driver that we're bringing on board is going to help us significantly to get more passengers on board. In September, we hosted 3 group trips, one to the San Anita Mall, to Walmart, and the seniors also had the opportunity to go to the Huntington Library. We are hosting 3 more group trips in the month of October. They have the option to go to Costco and Target, to the Forest Lawn Museum, and also the Santa Anita Mall. The Forest Lawn Museum has 3 special exhibits that they're hosting. It is free of charge and it will be guided by a tour guide. And it has the Last Supper exhibit, the Hall of Crucifixion exhibit, and also a new exhibit about Bob Barker, the Marionette Theater, so the puppeteer. I think the seniors will enjoy it. They like stuff and they like stuff that are free. Some of the projects that I'm working on personally with Sheila and Lucy, we're looking at launching, like I think I mentioned it to all of you before, the microtransit program. We're trying to explore every single option that we have, from contracting out the microtransit service to seeing if we would be able to run the microtransit service. We've been meeting with a lot of different companies, different software companies, companies that can run both the paratransit and microtransit. The paratransit, for those of you who may not know, is Dial-A-Ride. It's just a different name for it, so that people that cannot move by themselves, we would offer that to them. And there are companies that offer it where it's they can be mixed together. Some only contract out the microtransit portion, but we're still looking at exploring all of our options, and really it's up to the discretion of the state council on what they want to do and how they want to move forward with that. We are looking at procuring new electric vehicles. We purchased an electric vehicle from Phoenix Motor Cars 2 years ago, but due to chip shortages, part shortages, Ford chassis shortages, it's not going to be delivered until December of 22, so 2 months, 2 years later, but we're finally getting it. Progress. We are also looking into other electric vehicles. There are a lot of manufacturers out there. We're trying to narrow it down, and we're applying for grants. We recently applied for a grant with the MSRC. That is the, for those of you who may not know, Mobile Source Air Pollution Reduction Review Committee by the South Coast Air Quality Management District. And their goal is to make the air quality better in Los Angeles County, Orange County, and San Bernardino counties. And we also additionally applied for a grant with Southern California Edison to subsidize the cost of electric vehicles, and not the electric vehicles themselves, but the actual chargers for the electric vehicles. There's a program called the Charge Ready Transport Program that will pay for all of it, including infrastructure. And we're in the process right now. So the next steps would be they would come out for a site visit, and we will give them our conceptual design. And the last thing I have is that I started my federal audit. I oversee our National Transit Database audit, but just the reporting for our program, the financials and that sorts. I submitted the first round. Now I'm just waiting back to hear back from the auditor. And we will see where it goes from there. And I'm open to any questions if the commission has any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 9, Commissioner Communications. Do we have any commissioners that want to communicate something?
I mean, I do have a general comment for everybody. I mean, and wanted to ask, there's been a lot of vandalism, you know, a lot of graffiti, a lot of, I mean, just unnecessary, just in the Arroyo, you know, the, light, gardening water switches have been cut. I just drove by there the other day and, somebody had taken one of the, green benches and just thrown it everywhere and then graffitied, the areas. I mean, are we seeing that more and more at the city? We noticing?
We are getting more vandalism in the Arroyo area and mostly, I think at the other parks, mostly Orange Grove and Garfield, it's mostly the unhoused defecating in corners and sidewalks or against a wall. And so usually each morning when I come in Orange Grove, I walk the facility because a mom had called and said, we were just at the park and there's a big pile over in the corner over by your, you know, when you
The
enter into
corners,
that.
yeah.
So, yes, it's not vandalism, but to me it is because it does take somebody else to come in and make sure it gets cleaned up and graffiti. Yes, we even had graffiti down at the playground wall where we would, you know, not ever really get it. We got it for the first time. So we are seeing more. I couldn't tell you why. I don't know if it's just people are bored now. I don't know, but it is. I mean, many of the benches, like you say, they jump on them and
Yeah,
they like
destroyed
to,
a
yeah.
bench over there for no reason. They were
Yeah.
just, yeah.
I know, because the handicap ones, you have one side is on the bench is shorter. So one person sits on it and then they bend the other side to, yeah, it's been crazy, but it's hard to catch
No, it is.
all of it at once. And one thing is the Royal's very dark. Once the field lights go out, that it's really dark.
Yeah, that part, there's no vision.
No,
You
right.
can't see anything.
No.
It's dark. Okay.
So we just try to keep on it. I know Alberto probably emails me once a week on something that has happened, graffiti somewhere. Even our restrooms. I mean,
Oh,
you walk in 1 minute, it's fine, and you go in there the next time or walk by and it's just like a wall of graffiti at Orange Grove. So, but just continue to say something, even your, you know, parents and your parents, if they happen to like, you know, see something, they just gotta call themselves like, hey, this guy just walked out. I mean, Jordan, like I said, a couple weeks ago, walked in the restroom and there was a person just laying there on the ground in a stall, you know, I mean, he was having, you know, he OD'd. And so, you know, they had to Narcan him twice to get him back. I mean, if he hadn't walked down there, I don't know if the guy would even be alive right now. You know, so it's just, there's so much more happening on our parks. And PD's been trying to really kick them out at night. But you kick them out of one spot, they go to another park, or they just walk around the corner and they come back. Cause in the morning they're there when I'm there, when I get there. You know, we have one that sleeps kind of by, a rec office, not in front of our door, but on the other, you know, just on the other side each morning. And, you know, I get there about 7 and he'll leave, but you know, that's the spot. And so we have those little alcoves areas by those glass doors, and we always have to get those pressure washed because it's a nice place to hide to go to the bathroom too, so.
We've talked about in the past, I mean, I know it's really difficult, but with LED lights, it's actually, you know, they're not that expensive. I just wonder if
They're
we're
very
especially
bright.
going through the assessment, you know, because we know that helps to provide better lighting
Mhm.
in the, you know, in any area. It reduces the chance of vandalism
Yeah.
and anything associated. Just crime generally, you know,
Right.
it's just better. And the other thing, you know, is doing more murals and, you know, covering those walls ourselves. So longer term, I know that takes resources, but I think it would be really worthwhile looking into all of that.
Yes.
And I don't understand the attraction with Rite Aid. They're having a real serious problem, as you know, with homeless people there. I was in there a couple of weeks ago and I was in the back and I heard someone say, call the police, call the police. And of course, I kind of peeked around and what was going on, and it was this uh, homeless man had, come in and he started taking things. And I talked to the lady and she said that it's happening more and more. Do they have the right to, can anybody just walk in? Do they have a right to refuse anybody coming in or?
That's theirs if they can, they can refuse service, but I think there's some laws and things about how,
It's
I
happening
mean,
a
I know
lot.
they used to say no shirt, no shoes, no service, but I think that's all gone now.
And the beauty supply place across from Bristol Farms, I was talking to a lady there. She says, be careful when you leave. There's, a couple
Right.
homeless people out there and they tried to come in, but she wouldn't let them in.
Right. I mean, we even,
Is there more?
we're with our teen center. I mean, we've been, told that a lot of the kids are hanging out in that plaza there at Rite Aid and shoplifting. And so they're like wanting us to continue to, do things. We did it at the senior center just because the library gets inundated with kids after school. It's kind of that place that everybody goes in the library and then it becomes like a loud. And so, we're like, we have food. You want food? Come on over to kind of bring them our way. We have the Wi-Fi. They can kind of hang out. We only use the front room and the patio. So we still can offer our senior programs. But just to try and kind of help alleviate some of the problems with the library, because I know the library has a ton of issues with homeless. I mean, they have so many more than, than we do. And so we're trying to see how we can work together. But I think we're not the only city that's going through this. Regionally, everybody has these issues. And, until I think we can understand the unhoused and how we can house them and get them rehabilitated and working again, I don't know.
I find it hard to believe there would be unhoused doing graffiti in the bathroom.
No, but the mental health of some of them, they break, because some of our bathrooms still have the porcelain sinks in them. And so they'll break the sinks. At Arroyo, they break the sinks off the wall or the toilets off the wall.
Yeah.
They just get mad. Because they lock themselves in there because they're a single use. And then when the cleaning company comes to clean, they get mad at them. And then it's just a crazy, it's a vicious cycle. You guys are troopers tonight. This is like the longest standing meeting ever.
Thank you. Thank you so much, dude. Thank you.
Kids do it, high school, artists.
And if I'm getting this right, that actually is a policy that's being considered by the Public Arts Commission. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that is
Okay.
in work,
It's in
it is
the
under
work.
works, yeah. One more thought just on, unhoused education. I don't know if this would be of interest to the commission, but potentially just getting a brief presentation either from like the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments or PD on what are the limitations? Because at the end of the day, law enforcement is very limited in how much they can enforce quality of life issues because of federal case law. And so I think it's always good education for the public to receive that, because I think most of the public doesn't understand just how little cities really can intervene. If that's at all of interest to this commission to agendize some type of presentation, and if staff thinks that they could arrange that.
And maybe the connection to the Public Safety Commission, but also it's what do you do, what can you do? Right? Because I get those questions all the time, right? Like people calling me, someone's sleeping, or someone's, having a mental health crisis in the park, right? Like there's kids there. And I mean, everyone's options are really limited, but there are some options, and the county is rolling out more soon, especially in the San Gabriel Valley. We're a little later to it, but I think, just sort of provide, talking about what
Can and cannot be done.
options there
Yeah.
are,
I
right?
So there sounds like there's some interest in the commission to agendize something like that. Would that be possible, Sheila?
Can it be something on behalf of this commission? We do a community engagement, not just for this commission, but anybody who'd like to attend, we can do it right here and people can come and we can have it on Zoom to make it, not just for us, but for anybody who would like to, because I'm sure there'd be people that would like to. So, yeah, if you can just get a second, I can look into it.
Thank you.
I think that's a good idea.
Oh, we don't have to have
A
motion for
community
this, I don't think.
forum.
Yeah, right? We don't have to have a motion for this. It's just a. Oh, to agenda, is it? Okay, yeah.
Oh, I second.
Do we need a vote? Okay. Cool. Any other comments? All right, then we will adjourn at 8:51.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.